little bit of a problem with my right ear, so if I'm sounding a little bit loud, that's probably why. And today I'm doing like a kind of like a double episode, as it was. I'm doing my review of Doctor Who as well as all my other little bits. I'm sorry I didn't do a video. I'm sorry I didn't do a video yesterday. I just kind of wasn't in the mood and I didn't feel up to it, but I had a quiet day, and so yeah. I'm not allowed to mention about smacking people over the head with a frying pan in case I get myself into trouble. So that's that sorted out. I've started getting into Game of Thrones now. I'm up to episode 7, I think it is, or something like that, or episode 6. I'm not quite sure. But I'm on the first season. I'm quite enjoying it at the moment. And yeah. And the answer to riddle last week was bookkeeper. So yeah. Today's riddle. Here we go. Imagine you're in a dark room. How do you get out? So yeah, and the answer to last week's riddle was, I think I said it, bookkeeper. Yeah, bookkeeper. That was last week. That was the answer to last week's riddle. Right. On with the rest of today's show. As we all know, Wilko is closing down, another stable of our high street, and it occurred to me that over the past 2 decades we've lost quite a number of shops that have meant a lot to us all over the years, that we've all grown up with. And so I just wanted to share with you some of the shops that we've lost over the past 2 decades. Number 1, Woolworths. Now, we all know Woolworths. We all loved Woolworths, especially around Christmas time. They had all the decorations and everything. And if you go on YouTube, there's lots of old Woolworths adverts. And I know I did a video earlier this year saying, is Woolworths coming back? Because someone owns the name. And I know they wanted to bring it back as like a convenience store or something like that. And I think they're still trying to work out what to do with that. So, yeah. JGB Sports, number 2. I never really shopped in JGB Sports. So yeah, but no, we've lost JGB Sports. British Home Stores. Blimey, that's a blast from the past. Folded up in 2016. I remember British Home Stores because I used to shop in there, and that's where I had me Love to Shop cards when I joined me Park Christmas TV thing, and got me Park Christmas TV thing for me Christmas Club money and stuff like that. And yeah, it's such a shame because it was sometimes, especially around Christmas time, like most of the shops, they always had great displays and great stuff on British Home Stores. I remember my mum getting me pencils and stuff like that. Yeah. Number 4, Blockbusters. Before we had the internet, we used to rent films from stores like this, and it always made a great night out. You always used to have a plate of chips or popcorn or something and just sit there and watch whatever new release came out on video or DVD. And yeah, it's such a shame that shut down. I suppose with with streaming services like Netflix and stuff like that, I suppose there was no room for it in the market anymore. Dorothy Perkins, I don't know if that's still going or not, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of shops of them about. Burton's is another shop that we've lost. Freeman Hardy and Willis, that's a shoe shop. I think there was one down in Gravesend, I'm not entirely sure, but that's closed down a long times. Yeah. C&A, that they stopped having those shops in 2000 apparently. I know when I was younger, my elderly Aunt Glad and Mum took me down there for my first school uniform, like with the little shorts, the shirt, and so yeah, it's amazing the things you remember. Because I also went down there and had my very first McDonald's, and I was so excited to be going down there to having my first McDonald's. And it's also the place where my aunt, my elderly aunt, she use one of the fries to stir her coffee. So yeah, we always have a fun memory of that. Yeah, God bless him. Virgin Megastore. There was one up at Bluewater, and I used it, but I think maybe a couple of times, 1 or 2 times. But yeah, Our Price. There was one in Gravesend. I think there's one everywhere really. Just brilliant place. It sold records and CDs, and it was bought by WH Smiths, and then it kind of folded in 2004. And yeah, Rumbelows. Radio Rentals brought out Rumbelows. It was also Rumbelows was also a competition for Dixon's. Who remembers Dixon's? Because we've lost that shop as well. And Curry's and Comet. Another name we've lost as well. Comet. Toys R Us. I mean, everyone remembers that advert, especially at Christmas time, and that's where my mum used to go and get all the toys and everything like that, and especially got my Castle Grayskull when I was into He-Man, and so yeah, so it's such a shame that our high streets and our shop, they're just not the same anymore. Debenhams, we lost Debenhams as well. We used to have one in Gravesend. Army and Navy. I think House of Fraser's still up at Bluewater. But yeah, we've lost so many shops, and it's such a shame that our high street seems to be such a dying thing. And I mean, in Gravesend we used to have a proper market, and at the weekend, especially like on a Saturday, we used to have an outside market, and there used to be this little cake stall that a couple of my school friends school friends, they're people I knew from school, but they used to work there. And you had this lovely couple, or say lovely couple, they used to argue so much all the time. And now they're building flats, what used to be the outside market. I think growing up in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, especially with all this stuff, was actually a brilliant time. I remember one tool stall they had there, and they had the Fright Zone, the Masters Universe Hordex Fright Zone, and I think that cost only a tenner. And but no, it's just such a shame that our high streets and markets and everything, it's just not the same anymore. And I think the internet and Bluewater has done so much damage around here, but not just Bluewater, but all the Lakeside Shopping Centre. I think I've only been there once, but I'm usually up at Bluewater because that's nearest. But yeah, it's such a shame that that all the places we've lost, all the shops we've lost, all these places that have discontinued because they've just simply run, I suppose they've simply run their course. And like I say, at Woolworths at Christmas time, everybody loved Woolworths at Christmas time. Everybody. And it's, you know, it's just such a shame. Right. On with the rest. Now, seeing as I didn't do yesterday's show, I thought I would tell you what was on BBC and ITV on today's date, because 40 years ago on today's date was a Saturday. So yeah, Saturday the 24th on BBC One at 6:25, Open University. Leon Errol at 8:55. The Get Set Picture Show at 9:15. 11 o'clock, the film The Black Cat. Weather was at 12:12. Grandstand was at 12:15. Then at 5:05 was The Dukes of Hazzard. News was on at 6. 6:10 was the Sport and Regional News. 6:15 the Noel Edmonds Late Breakfast Show. Blankety Blank was at 7:05. That was hosted by Terry Wogan. Juliet Bravo at 25 to 8. Three of a Kind at 8:25. News and Sport at 8:55. That was followed by at 9:10 Remington Steel. 10 o'clock Match of the Day, and at 10:50 the film Shaft's Big Score. And obviously after that it closed down. Does anyone remember the close downs on BBC and ITV when they didn't have late night all the way through television, and they used to have the Queen's Anthem, the Queen's Anthem? Well, I was actually looking on YouTube, and they actually have one there from Christmas at 1980, and you have the ice skaters Which reminds me, there's 3 months till Christmas. Can you believe it? Saturday the 24th over on ITV. Good Morning Britain. That was started at 6:25. 8:40 Summer Run. 9:25 LWT Information. 9:30 Sesame Street. 10:30 the Saturday Show. 12:15 World of Sport. 5 o'clock ITV News. At 5:05 The Crankies Club. That was followed at 25 to 6 The Fall Guy. 6:30 Game for a Laugh. 7:30 Punchlines. Heart to Heart was at 8. The News was at 9. Then the film The Omen was on at 9:15. Then at 11:20 was golf. So yeah. Also today, I normally do my Doctor Who reviews separately, but I thought I'd include it in this one because I didn't do a show yesterday. I was actually going to do 3 videos over the weekend. The normal Saturday show that I normally do, or what I would have done on Sunday, but I was actually going to do a video about grief. And it was kind of troubling me a little bit because I didn't quite know what to say. Because there's no right or wrong way to grieve. We all grieve differently. And there's no right or wrong ways to grieve, and so much grief takes more out of you than you think, I think. It takes more out of you than you know, you're not the same person that you are when you come out of it. And having dealt with a lot of grief myself, it was actually my Uncle Noel who actually inspired me to want to do that video about grief, because unfortunately he's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the throat, and now it's gone down to his lungs. And it got me thinking about grief, and because I've had to deal with cancer again myself, like with my mum, because my mum sadly passed away 31 years ago with cancer. I was only 16. My sister Claire was 15, and my little sister was 3.5. And it also got me thinking about how grief affected my mum and dad, because we lost my brother. I was only a few weeks old, but we lost my brother 48 years ago in a bit of an accident. He was only 2.5, and I saw how grief affected them, and it made them very protective of my sister, and my dad was angry, and my mum didn't really talk much, and yeah. And then obviously in 2007 we lost my little sister through, and I've done a video about that, about Brugada syndrome, and I remember the look on my dad's face when the police came round to tell us the news. And of course my first reaction was, what about the baby? Is Mia Moo okay? Because she was only just turned 2 at the time when Nushka had collapsed and died. And then eventually we lost my dad in 2 years later, 2009, right at the end of November. So that was a great Christmas. So yeah, my dad wasn't a particularly very well man. He didn't look after himself, but I think when my little sister died, I think that really did it for him. I think he just totally gave up, and that was it. So I wanted to do a video about grief, and I don't know, all I can do is speak from the heart and to say that grief is such a hard thing to go through. It takes more out of you than you realise, and you're not the same person than you were before this stuff even happened. You're definitely not the same person, and it's a horrible thing to go through. I mean, for one thing, no parent should ever have to outlive their own children. And yeah, it's a horrible thing to go through, and I wouldn't even wish anyone to lose anyone, even in their own worst enemy. So yeah, I was trying to find the right words, trying to find how to explain it. It's not great, because there are no words, and there is no right or wrong way to grieve, because everybody grieves differently. And for a long time I think I've been in a bit of denial as well, and just yeah, it's not a good thing to go through. But anyway, I'm glad I've got that sorted out now as well. And on with my Doctor Who review. Now the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker's Doctor, was in the role for 7 years, and his last story was called Logopolis, and it was basically about because I've writ the plot out, and I'm thinking, well, how do I simply just put it into simple words? Well, basically the fourth Doctor is quite melancholy by this time anyway, and Tom Baker, like the actor Tom Baker, was actually quite irascible, and I think Jeanette Fielding said she was very scared of him because he wasn't happy that he was leaving, but I think he knew he had to do it because he'd been in the role for 7 years after John Pertwee left, and so yeah, and of course this story was my first introduction to regeneration. Tom Baker turning into Peter Davison, and Peter Davison is my Doctor. So the Doctor goes to the Doctor wants to repair the chameleon circuit, so he's preoccupied with that, and of course the Master has become, like from the previous story, Tremas's. He's taken over Tremas's body. If you've watched The Keeper of Traken, you'll know what the Master's taken over his, like Nissa's dad's body, and of course he's got a new body, and so of course he knows what the Doctor's going to do. So he gets the old British police box first and creates this kind of loop. So when the Doctor materialises around the police box to measure it, to take to Logopolis for the measurements to fix the chameleon circuit, the Master's there already and creates some sort of loop. And so of course they eventually sort that out, go to Logopolis, but while they're there, Tegan runs out, and of course Nissa's there as well, because there's this white person called the Watcher who's watching everything that's going on and tells the Doctor to go to Logopolis. And so once that happens, then where am I? I forget where I am now. So yeah, once they arrive at Logopolis to give this monitor the measurements of like the TARDIS to help fix the chameleon circuit, the Master is there and causing mayhem and chaos like he normally does. And so once he's there, he holds the monitor and Tegan hostage while Tegan and Adric go looking for him. And then of course the TARDIS is fully back up, because when the Doctor gives the monitor the calculations, the Master's there, and of course they're given the wrong calculations, and the TARDIS shrieks. So of course once the Doctor has seen the right calculations, the TARDIS is is brought back to normal size. He goes looking for Nyssa and Adric. When the Doctor tells Tegan that he's killed the Master, he actually goes and he's killed the Master. The Doctor tells Tegan that the Master's killed her Aunt Vanessa. He goes looking for Adric and Nyssa and tell them to stop messing about. The Master is too dangerous. But Nyssa, who's now become under hypnotic control of the Master, tries to stop Adric, because Adric is trying to stop the Master, and I'm getting all confused myself now. But anyway, eventually the Doctor wins, but he falls from a telescope and he regenerates. Sorry about that. I should have really read the plot. I read the plot out, and after all that, I didn't use it. So anyway, yeah, this was my first introduction to regeneration, and Peter Davison became my Doctor. I was only, I think, 6 at the time. I was 7 in September, and I was 7 when Peter Davison's first series started. So he was, for me, at that age, my Doctor that I've grown up with, and he will always be my Doctor. But as I say, Tom Baker was in the role for 7 years, And so yeah, so that's my Doctor Who review too. So that's everything I've covered now. I didn't need to make any separate videos, so I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Thank you very much for watching and bearing with me. I hope you all haven't switched off after 1 minute and 30 seconds or whatever, you know. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been quite insightful, because I wanted this channel to be different. I mean, I know I've tried to make it like that other channel, Too Old to Grow Up, by doing the old bits and pieces here and there, but I actually want this channel to be different. Yes, I like nostalgia. Yes, I like television and you know, and all that stuff, but I also want to talk about other things as well, and grief was one of those things I wanted to talk about, because if it helps someone, then yeah. Again, thank you very much for watching. I will get back to my normal things next week, and I'll do it all properly. I haven't decided what 5th Doctor's story I'm doing, because he was my favourite Doctor, and so yeah, and I'll actually read the plot to you and give some insightful details. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next Saturday. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.